Before we dive into the dark truth behind Carandiru, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, tap like, and drop a comment. Because what you're about to hear is one of the most shocking prison stories ever recorded. Now let's go straight into the moment everything exploded. The air inside Carandiru Penitentiary was thick with gun smoke. Screams echoed through the concrete blocks. Officers in black armor stormed through narrow hallways, their boots slamming like thunder. Inmates were trapped with nowhere to run. Shots fired so fast they sounded like ripping fabric. One man, an American investigator named Detective James Walker, on assignment from Chicago to study prison conditions, stood frozen behind a shattered doorway, unable to believe what he was seeing. Bodies fell. Dust rose. Chaos took over. And then, just as Walker stepped into the open yard, a riot guard lifted his gun and pointed it straight at him. Everything went silent. Then, blackout. Hours earlier, before that gun barrel aligned with his forehead, Detective Walker had stepped out of his rental car in Sao Paulo, Brazil, feeling the heavy heat pressing against his shoulders. He had flown from Atlanta after receiving reports, evidence files, and disturbing witness statements about the growing violence in Carandiru. His job wasn't glamorous. It wasn't simple, but it was necessary. Too many stories had surfaced. Stories involving overcrowding, disease, gangs with more control than guards, and a prison population that stretched beyond 8,000 inmates. Even from the U.S. Department of Justice offices, where Walker first read the report, the numbers felt unreal. Inside the gates, the smell hit him first. A mix of sweat, old water, rusted metal, and something sour he couldn't place. The corridors buzzed with noise, shouts, clanking metal cups, distant arguments. Inmates stared at him through bars, some curious, some angry, some empty. Walker's guide, a local officer named Silva, explained in a tired voice that Carandiru only had a fraction of the guards it needed. Many days, the inmates ran things themselves. Walker scribbled notes. Observation report. Environmental scan. Risk assessment. The usual. But something felt different here. He had worked homicide units in Detroit, missing person cases in Texas, and violent gang investigations in California, but nothing prepared him for the atmosphere inside this place. It felt like a pot of boiling water, the lid shaking, pressure rising. Every hallway told a story. Men sleeping on thin mats, others coughing, too sick to stand. Some whispered about rival gangs, PCC, commando groups, networks that reached from Brazil to New York. Walker kept noticing the same thing. Fear lived in everyone's eyes. Hours passed as he moved deeper into the prison. Then he heard a crack. A single sharp noise. Not a gunshot, at least not yet. It was more like a metal plate slamming shut. The air shifted. Guards suddenly rushed past, shouting orders. Inmates backed away from windows. Walker's instincts triggered. The same instincts that saved him more than once on crime scenes back home. Something was about to break. Silva grabbed Walker's shoulder. A fight started in Block 9, he said. Big one. Block 9. The most overcrowded unit. The unit where tensions ran highest. Reports mentioned it several times. Gang disputes, bad sanitation, constant sickness. Walker followed Silva down twisting hallways until they reached a balcony overlooking the cell block. From there he saw it. A crowd of inmates pushing, shouting, breaking into smaller fights. The guards at the bottom tried to stop it, but there were too few of them. Too many men. Too much anger. Then someone screamed a word that froze every muscle in Walker's body. Riot. In seconds, the block erupted. Mattresses lit on fire. Metal bars clanged. Inmates surged like a wave, using anything they could as weapons. A stolen broom. A broken pipe. A sharpened toothbrush. The noise became a storm. Walker felt his heartbeat pound in his ears. He reached for his radio to call for outside support, but the signal was dead, walls too thick. Silva cursed under his breath. Then came the sound that changed everything. The thudding roar of armored trucks outside the prison gates. Walker looked at Silva. What's happening? They're sending in the military police, Silva whispered, eyes wide. All of them. For a moment, the world paused. Then the gates burst open. Officers in black rushed in with shields, helmets, and rifles. Not rubber bullets, not warning shots, real rifles. And Walker realized something terrible. They weren't coming to calm the riot. They were coming to crush it. The first gunshot from the police side shattered the air like glass. Inmates ducked and scattered. Officers climbed the stairs, firing into darkness, into cells, into crowds. Smoke spread. Dust lifted. People screamed for help, for mercy, for anything. Walker tried to wave his hands, shouting, "I'm a detective. I'm with the U.S. investigation team." But no one could hear him over the gunfire. Then, as he stepped into the yard, one riot guard turned, raised his rifle, and aimed it directly between Walker's eyes. The guard's finger tightened. And that's when Walker heard another sound. A sound even more terrifying than gunfire. Coming from behind him. Something big was about to happen. The sound behind Walker was a heavy metal slam, like a massive gate crashing shut. He spun around, heart pounding so hard he felt it in his throat. A wave of inmates had broken through a side corridor, sprinting straight into the yard. Their footsteps shook the ground. Their shouting filled the air. They were running not towards safety, but toward the armed officers. The guard who had his rifle aimed at Walker swung it away, confused for a split second, giving Walker room to drop flat behind a concrete barrier. Gunfire exploded again, loud enough to rattle his teeth. For a moment, everything blurred. Smoke, dust, shadows, running shapes. He couldn't tell who was chasing who. He tried to breathe slow, something he learned years ago during homicide investigations in Ohio. But the chaos made it impossible. He peeked over the concrete slab and saw one inmate collapse as bullets struck the ground around him. Another jumped behind a pillar, hands over his head. A guard shouted orders in Portuguese. A second guard fired into a stairwell with no warning. Walker's mind raced. There was no control, no strategy. This wasn't a rescue. It was an explosion of fear and force colliding all at once. He felt the same choke of panic he had once felt searching a dark house in Phoenix, looking for a missing teen with only a flashlight and a bad feeling. But this was worse. There were no safe corners here. Silva stumbled into the yard, coughing through the dust. He had lost his helmet. His face was streaked with sweat and ash. "Walker," he yelled. "We need to move. They're losing control." Walker pointed toward an open hallway. "There, cover." They darted toward it. Bullets pinged against the walls, sending chips of concrete into the air. Behind them, the inmates who had rushed into the yard were now scattering in different directions. Some trying to surrender, others trying to escape the line of fire, others freezing where they stood, unsure whether to move or stay still. As they reached the hallway, Walker felt the ground tremble again. This time, it wasn't footsteps. It was the vibration of hundreds of boots. More officers, full riot units, advancing through the prison like a moving wall. He pressed his back to the corridor and tried to steady his breathing. He needed a plan. Report the timeline. Document evidence. Stay alive. But the calm didn't last long. They heard voices approaching. Not guards, inmates. A group of 6 rounded the corner, running full speed. When they saw Walker and Silva, they halted. One man held a piece of broken metal. Another had blood on his shirt. Their eyes were wild, fear mixed with desperation. Silva raised both hands. "Stay back. We're just trying to get out." One inmate stepped forward. He spoke fast, but even through the chaos, Walker understood enough. They weren't chasing the guards. They were running from them. They claimed the officers were shooting people even after they surrendered. Walker felt a knot in his stomach. He wanted to say it wasn't possible, that law enforcement wouldn't act that way, that even in the worst prisons, rules existed. But the sound of non-stop gunfire outside told another story. An explosion echoed from the yard, a tear gas canister slamming into a wall. The hall filled with low, ghostly smoke drifting toward them. Alarms screeched overhead, mixing with the shouting, the coughing, the metallic clangs from deeper blocks. The inmates looked at Walker, confused by his accent. "You American?" one asked. Walker nodded slowly. The man pointed toward the yard. Then you better see what they're doing. Nobody will believe us. Walker opened his mouth to speak, but then, from the far end of the hall, came a roar louder than gunfire. The steel gate to Block 9 burst completely off its hinges. A massive wave of inmates spilled out, tangled together in panic and shouting. It felt like watching a dam explode. Dozens ran in every direction, searching for exits, cover, anything to survive. Some limped, some bled, others just screamed. Silva grabbed Walker's arm. If they rush the hallway, they'll crush us. Walker looked left. No exit. He looked right. Only smoke and shadows. The crowd grew louder, closer, faster. A tidal wave of bodies. He had seconds to choose. But then, before he could decide, the lights overhead flickered violently and went out completely. Darkness swallowed the hallway. Someone screamed. Someone else yelled that the power grid had collapsed. And then a new sound cut through the pitch-black corridor. Slow, heavy footsteps coming from the direction of Block 9. Not running, walking, steady, deliberate. Someone or something was coming through the dark. And they weren't afraid of anything around them. The footsteps got louder, louder, louder. Then a voice called out, deep, cold, and echoing across the hall. And Walker recognized the name. A name he had seen in case files from Miami and Los Angeles. A name tied to multiple homicide investigations. A name whispered inside prisons across 2 continents. The most feared inmate in the entire compound. And he was heading straight toward them. The voice echoed through the pitch-black corridor, low and steady, rolling through the smoke like thunder. Silva froze. The inmates around them stopped breathing. Even the ones running from tear gas halted when they heard that name. Walker whispered it under his breath, confirming what his case files had warned him about. Marcus Reed, an American-born gang leader who once moved between Los Angeles, Houston, and Miami. Reed had been extradited years ago after a string of homicide investigations and multiple missing person cases tied to him. Reports said he controlled entire wings of Carandiru using fear alone. Some called him a ghost. Others called him a storm. And now he was walking toward them. A dim emergency light flickered once, then again, revealing Reed's silhouette, tall, calm, unhurt, moving through chaos like he owned it. Inmates stepped aside as if an invisible force pushed them back. He didn't run. He didn't shout. He just walked, straight toward Walker. Silva whispered, voice shaking, "We need to get out of here." But Walker didn't move. He had seen dangerous men before, in crime scenes across Nevada and Kentucky. He had chased killers through dark alleys in Philadelphia. But Reed had a presence that made every other criminal seem small. When he finally reached them, Reed stopped just a foot away. Smoke curled around him like a shadow. His eyes locked onto Walker's. "You don't belong here, Detective," Reed said quietly. "But now you're trapped like the rest of us." Walker swallowed hard. "I'm not your enemy. I'm trying to document what's happening." Reed tilted his head. "You think anyone in Washington or New York cares? They'll read your report, close the file, and forget these men ever existed." Another boom shook the walls. More shots came from the yard. Silva pressed himself against the wall, trembling. Reed continued, voice calm even as chaos raged around him. "A war just started out there. And when this night ends, they'll count bodies, not names." Walker tried to look past Reed, but the hallway was still too dark. "If you stay here, you'll be killed," he said. Reed let out a quiet breath, almost a laugh. "Detective, I've been dead for years." The floor vibrated again. This time, the sound was unmistakable. Riot shields smashing against doors, boots stamping in formation. The military police were pushing deeper into the prison, block by block, clearing everything in their path. Reed's expression sharpened. "They're coming here next." An inmate behind him screamed as another burst of bullets tore through the yard. Silva grabbed Walker. "We need to move now." But Reed raised a hand, not threatening, just signaling. "I can show you a way out," he said. "There's an old maintenance tunnel under Block 6. Guards don't know about it. But if you want to live, you follow me. If you don't," he glanced toward the yard. The gunfire answered for him. Walker's instincts clawed at him. Follow a man listed in half a dozen U.S. homicide case files? Trust someone who controlled an entire prison wing? Someone who might have just been using him for an escape? But staying meant death. He nodded. Reed turned and moved quickly through the dark hallway. Walker and Silva followed, dodging inmates who stumbled past them. Smoke drifted through broken pipes overhead. Alarms wailed. The ground shook with every new explosion of force. Reed led them down a narrow corridor, then another, then a staircase that felt like it dipped underground forever. Every turn twisted the prison deeper. Finally, they reached a steel door half covered in rust. Reed pulled it with both hands until it screeched open. Cold air rushed out. A tunnel stretched beneath the prison, damp and echoing. Walker looked back. Through the stairwell, gunshots lit the darkness like lightning flashes. Screams layered over the noise. It sounded like the entire prison was collapsing. Reed stepped into the tunnel, but before anyone could move farther, a deafening blast shook the foundations above. Dust rained down. A chunk of concrete cracked free and slammed onto the floor. The tunnel lights flickered. Silva shouted, "They're blowing the upper levels." Walker grabbed the wall as another shockwave hit. Reed stared upward, jaw tightening. "They're not stopping," he muttered. "They're going to wipe this whole place clean." Walker looked at Reed one last time. A man feared across 2 continents. A man marked by countless case files. A man trapped in the same nightmare. "What happens if we make it out?" Walker asked. Reed didn't turn. "You tell the truth," he said. "The real truth. Not the one they'll put in their report." Another explosion thundered overhead. The tunnel lights went out. And in the pitch-black silence, Walker heard the final sound of the night. The unmistakable roar of the prison ceiling beginning to give way. Everything shook, and then the world collapsed into darkness.